Good morning, everyone. Today is the April 26th, and we just had 1.24 release. And as the regular things, we normally will do the retrospective and the retro, and also the planning. So for next release, so and the Riven, Sergey, and Manu, and propose to volunteer to do this to run this cycle. So Riven, maybe you want to take over and start talking about the retro for the last release. Quickly summarize because I know Sergey did a lot of work. Thanks.
Yeah, but I saw there are some a couple of topics on the agenda today. So should we go over those first before we dive into the retros and planning? I saw Radha, Adrian, and Vinay put some topics on today's agenda. So should we just go over those topics real quick first?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's just do. Okay. Radha, do you want to talk about the user namespace?
Yes, hello. So we opened the PR several days ago, so we wanted to ping here to have a review. And we also have some more questions. We wanted to ask if having a review from Windows or VM runtime maintainers for the alpha phase is needed or is needed for beta, just to know what are the blocking things that we need to unlock.
I'm not sure like what will we do on the Windows side. Maybe like someone from Windows, maybe Mark or someone can say.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'll say I'd like to do a review just to make sure, like, if the feature is even applicable to Windows, that the implementation isn't going to make it hard to split out the functionality. But in terms of alpha implementation, I'd say usually Windows support is not a requirement.
Yeah, I think the only blocker for this one it is if customer enable this feature and not to cause the regression to the Windows nodes.
Yeah.
Right. So because that's the only blocker, at least for alpha. And then later we need for the beta and the GA, we need to figure out how to best to handle if this is not capable for the Windows node, and if there are any other things, so how we are capable to handle those kind of things. So I don't think beyond that one there's any blocker here.
Oh, great. Yes, and it shouldn't be applicable to Windows as far as I understand, because also the CRI has like different configs that sends for Windows and for Linux. And this is in the Linux specific part, so it should be safe in that regard. So the next question would be, so can we aim for alpha in 125? I saw that it's not listed in the things that we're aiming for 125 in the document that Sergey shared. But
yes, that is not complete from day one, even like the circuit
right.
I think up. So, that's just a start point, and the Riven and also Manu and also Sergey just put there. So we are up to edit, right? Put something. So the goal it is for today's planning, we want to find the owner. We are driving the feature end to end, reviewer and approver. Even reviewer and approver, maybe we need like a follow up sometimes. This is kind of though in the past we are. Just please feel free to add there. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. So I think that is all for me.
Yeah, thanks. So Andrew, for the checkpoint, do you want to quickly update?
Yeah, I just
go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that I implemented the changes we discussed last week. I had already a quick review from Mrunal over it, and just wanted to make sure to get the reviews early this time, so that we do not slip on the last day like last time. So just highlighting that it's ready for review.
Yes, thanks, Manu. please?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think Adrian, yeah, this will be near the top. So we'll try to get it once 125 opens. And I think on the KEP side, I think Don or Derek need to do an approve or merge. I don't have approve there. So we can poke them.
Definitely, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So Vinay.
Hi, yeah. So this is about the in-place pod vertical scaling, and I'm hoping that 1.25 is the magic number for us. So it looks like we're waiting on Derek. Tim Hawken looked at the changes, and he still stays LGTM on it. And there were a bunch of to-dos and some issues that were during the KEP we figured we'll address it during beta. For example, designing a slash of sub-resource called resize that can be applicable to more than just pods. You can apply it to deployments to jobs, which is a useful thing. So there are all these things that I've captured on a wiki page on my GitHub, and that link is there in the document. I'm hoping that we'll find volunteers to help drive this. I want to just build out the expertise and share out the knowledge to more people than just me and you and Derek and Tim. So we want to have some more owners for this. And of course, Lanta knows a lot about this too. So, but we want to have some more people be able to, in case I'm on vacation or something. So that's a goal. And over the next, it's going to be a year between alpha and GA, because we need to have the 2 release gap so that we don't have to deal with the back support for the kubectl, the client side. And for that reason, we'll have plenty of time to, design this and do this. I just wanted to see if there are any more comments. At this point, it looks like Derek is the only main, the issues have been addressed. We just need him to look at it and see if there's any more feedback, any more changes needed. But it's just sitting there.
Yeah, I understand this one is taking a really long time. I'm sorry for that one.
Oh no, it's all right.
It's just so complicated feature.
I know.
And also I understand where it came from the Derek. Of course, Derek also busy. But another thing it is because there are so many things related to the resource management, lead a lot of like long-term things, like even SQL version 2. So this is why he always try to think more deeper for the longer term. So I just Eric is not here, so I just want to represent. I cannot represent him, but there's some of those context behind why this is taking so long.
Yeah, I know.
I want to appreciate it.
Yeah, the V2 also, he mentioned we can do that during the beta time, and I've captured it as an issue to work on. And I think we have a volunteer for that already, so that's great.
Yes.
I'm going to update the KEP. I think the KEP needs updating to 1.25 targets. I will send it across today or tomorrow. And I think you or Derek can approve that. It's just a, paper, a rubber seal, rubber stamp for it.
Yes. Hopefully 1.25 is really large number, here.
And early 1.25. So in case there are any issues, we have enough runway to, address. I'm hoping that most of the to-dos also can be addressed before we even go into 1.25 release. And then you only have the design issues left. So yeah,
sure.
That's it from me. Raven already has the container these kind of changes ready. It's sitting in draft, so we could even get that. So
got it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And thanks to suggest to go over those issues quickly, because I do when first scan through, I think about it anyway, we are reflecting in our planning. But I think it still is good to clear some question here. So Riven, now it's you and Manu.
Okay, let me present this talk. So I'm thinking we can just go through the retro first. We'll go through what we've done in the last cycle. Sorry, let me just find how to.
I make you co-host now. Yeah, and
share. Okay, cool. Can you all see the sharing screen? Share screen?
Yeah, we can. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so for the last cycle, Sergey wrote up this talk. So for the last cycle, we have I think 6 caps done. The dynamic kubelet config removal, pod overhead graduated to stable, kubelet credential provider graduated to beta, Docker shim removal graduated to stable, priority class value based crystal shutdown to beta, gRPC probes to beta. And we have 17 caps removed from the 1.24 milestone. User namespaces, in place pod vertical scaling, exact probe timeout, container checkpoint. Oh man. List watch for concrete resource assignments, secret v2, C advisor list, CRI stats, swap, setcom by default, ensure secret images, node level pod admission handlers, pod level resource limits, keystone containers, new CPU manager policy, distribute across NUMA, dynamic resource allocation, pod conditions around starting and completion of pod sandbox creation, and add deallocate post-op container to device plugin API. Sorry, the reason why I want to go through all of this is just to help people to think about what we have done good and what we could have improved. Yeah, hopefully this reminds people of something. So in 124 cycle, we have 23 tracked and 6 merged, and we also have some history data here. In 122, we tracked 24 and the 13 were merged. In 123, 14 were tracked and 8 merged. And this is the retro summary from 123 cycle. Yeah, and yeah, I think now we can talk about what we did well in the 124 cycle. And yeah, I'll just make some notes here.
There also have something, for example, I think there's the misunderstanding. Like, for example, SQL version 2 from the planning, we clearly see that in the planning, we clearly see we don't want to promote to the GA. I think the misunderstanding people, and there's a couple things like that. And we are missing off the customer user inputs. So we want to hold that one, but we still want planning, right? So like in the planning doc, we clearly see this one we are going to improve in the 1.24, but we want also customer using data inputs to promote. So that the planning doc is clear list. I know there's many misunderstanding on that one, but I look at the planning doc very clearly state there. Even for swap, I think that in the earlier we did say that we will try, but we also want more inputs. So it's not like for sure we are going to the next stage. So I think the couple things is there, but the other things is like, for example, for the in-place update resource, the one, it's been so many release. I understand this is because that is real complete feature, even like designs based on the back and forth we change up. And I think also this is part of the reviewer, missing reviewer, but even we have a reviewer, I think that will take a really long time because that's the large feature. It's the big feature. We can and involve several SIGs. It's not just SIG Node, right? So that's also involve the API. We change API because API review, right? So a couple times also. So because API changes, so implementation also have to change. So there's a couple things that I just want to make sure cannot just one size fit all, and just simplify the problem. I just want to clear here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Don. I mean, I see one more, like even seccomp by default, it's in that list, but we were never planning to like move that forward. So
yes.
Yeah.
With in-place pod vertical scaling, I think it's good to move cautiously. With more eyeballs, the better, because it's got the potential to, do boo-boos in a bunch of places, and it's not just going to be contained to one place. So what we're doing, I believe, is the right step.
And another thing also is like about the original author moved forward, right? So the original author also moved forward at last minutes. So then, so end up like the reviewer or approver, then they have to redistribute the bandwidth right that time, and also everyone has a lot of other work. So there's the many things I just want to mention here. Yeah.
I'm just trying to capture what we just talked about. Down, you mentioned original author moved forward. Which cap you were talking about? I'm just putting that as one of the things that didn't go well.
So I forgot last time I checked before the things but I forgot which exactly cap.
Okay.
There's the feedback, right? So the reviewer but didn't address the reviewer's comment, didn't reply. So but the last minute addressed. So we could go, but if we want, we can auditing which one have that one. So then we basically decided just remove from the milestone. I think in here, even in this meeting, we discussed because lack of the original author's progress, right? So we have to redistribute the review bandwidth before deadline. So then we just decided maybe we can search here for 1.24 because Alila really tracking those cap and progress very well. So we have several meetings talk about those things.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can go find that later, find out which cap we're talking about. Yeah, so I just captured two things that, well, we could have done better. Anything that we did well that we want to write down in case we forget later.
I see also a few items in that list that were like big designs that were coming in towards the end. So there was no way we were gonna get them in like dynamic resource allocation, right?
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah, I mean, that just came in late and we are still discussing, working through that one.
Also, Keystone container, if I remember correctly, did came earlier, but real design is quite late, right? So because and also it's big changes, so that's why I think also it's quite yeah.
I think part of that is also just planning to take more things in than we actually realistically had capacity to do.
Yeah.
Totally. I agree with the problem. It is I think this is a little bit different from the company project, right? So we need for community, we have to encourage. We definitely want to encourage of the contribution. So we cannot say when there's the new idea, really idea, and before we understand, we have to encourage it, please send design, please send. This is kind of a dilemma we have, right? So we try to balance more contribution, but at the same time, we also have to manage as a team, community team, and we have to manage of our what we deliver, the reliability, product reliability to our customer, even for vendor, right? So this is why we have to, when we make decision, we have to say this is the common design. This is benefit for largest of the vendor. This is any problem for the user, regression, all those kind of perspective. But at the same time, how we guide it. Certain things maybe only benefit one vendor. We still need to think about, oh, this is benefit that vendor, but benefit the user. How we make that is generic. So this is why a lot of time take longer time. It's not like vendor offer. You build certain things. You could do it faster because that's your technical debts, right? So
I think in the next cycle or two, we need to preemptively allocate basically multiple caps worth of work towards sort of reliability and maintainability improvements. Especially with like some of the fallout from the refactoring that Clayton did, where we still keep on getting random escape bugs. Like,
yeah,
we need to do some proper investment in testability and reliability.
Good idea. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Partially because like we can't actually land caps if we don't know if things are broken. Like basically anytime somebody lands a like kubelet change right now, we still break things. And we find out not before we ship a release, but when it's running in people's production environments, and that is far too late.
Yes. I totally agree. Yeah. We need encourage people more involved with this testability and reliability. But at the same time, we also want to some volunteer and leading of those kind of things and help to set the direction, help us to scope those work.
Yeah, part of my plan for the CI subgroup for the next cycle is to try and push us into doing more of that. Now we have tests running. But I think we also need to be a little bit stricter about what we accept. And so not accepting changes that don't have some kind of test change without very good reason. Especially for sort of new features, like if something doesn't have like decent unit and ETE testing, like we can't support it. Like merging code in open source is when someone's code becomes all of our code. And so then it becomes something that all of us need to be able to support. And part of that involves documenting a lot of those expectations.
Oh, it's good, good things. But we basically know, I believe in the process, you have to have the test. And the problem is that that's the reviewer and also approver have to really carefully review test also to make sure there's the courage. I spot many cases in the past. There still we said, oh, you have to have test. Then when I look at the test cases, actually it's not really test all the scenario. So basically it's very simple. And so that's why we really require the reviewer and also the approver hold that bar and what kind of things we can accept it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, we need to clone Elana.
Like we have entire packages in the kubelet that don't have a single unit test.
Yeah, that's another kind of the worm. This kind of things, unit test, the Kubernetes hope have the unit test. It's been talked about a lot in the past, which is require of a lot of work. I do think about all the component could be do the component test, and the SIG Node, even like the SIG Node, if we could start off the component test, right? So like and will be wonderful, right? So at least we spend time to build the SIG Node E2E test, and our E2E test later become to majority of the test cases came from this community become to Kubernetes, the conformance test from the SIG Node. But I do believe like the scheduler, it's really easy to come off the component test and even master, right? So the controller. SIG Node a little bit tough because we do, like even today, we couldn't get like the resource management test unless we want mock kernel behavior. And we need, when earlier time, I did ask pull out to hope we have the roadmap before we build the SIG Node E2E, and we can have like mock the Linux kernel behavior, and then build some like the reasonable test, like the unit test and all those kind of things. But we don't have like a volunteer to help on those things. Yeah. So this is. So those it is the planning, and in the community, this is kind of like the lead more volunteer and contributor here. Yeah.
I have one suggestion from my experience with this pod vertical scaling feature. Like we have owners file in each directory which tells you who owns the issues, if there is any whom to reach out to. I'm wondering if it might be helpful to have a small map of, okay, if you're making changes in this code, here are the places to potentially add tests. Because what I felt, okay, I was adding some tests, for example, in the resource quota handling. I looked quickly in the same folder for a test file, it wasn't there. And then since you're doing your development, your context is elsewhere, you want to get the thing working first, and then you already are planning your E2E test. So yeah, okay, I'm going to get this in E2E. I don't know where the unit test is, so I'm going to have to locate it. I don't have time to do it right now. And then you move on to something else, the context goes away. And then you forget about it. I've myself dropped the ball a few times. Thanks to Elena, we caught a bunch of them. So I'm wondering if it would be helpful to, it could even be automated as a tool. Hey, this feature has been added. Would you consider adding tests in these locations? Something like that. So that's right in the face as you're building. So you have the context and, oh yeah, I can add it here. I don't know. It's a suggestion.
Yeah. That's a good suggestion. Yeah. In the past, we have something like even you add a test, but during the development cycle, we kind of using the to do I add certain things, new feature, and I come across a certain method function. Then we think about this one needs some test, and nobody test because cause confusing to me. So our engineer actually have the good habit to add to do. Then we can really say, oh, this one maybe need some test or something like that. So then later we do the code search and find the to do, and and add more tests. So that's another way also fix today's problem. And but the community, because we need really carefully require this to the reviewer and approver, and to say, oh, please, you are missing this test. My habit, honestly, in the past, I review code, even internal code. My first thing is always review the test code, because the test code reflect it is what they want to build, right? So they have the change list, not change, the PR description, what I try to address. Then the test code, based on the test code, it reflect what problem you try to address. And then I goes to the real one. So a lot of time I review start from the test cases. I just share here. So and
I'm just trying to catch the silver linings in all of the stuff we just talked about. So Vinay, you mentioned that during the review process of the in-place vertical scaling, we found some missing tests right during the review process. So
Yes.
I added one of those.
Yes. And so some of those were the unit test isn't in the same place where you're writing the code, you're making the code changes. They are in some other place in a completely different folder directory structure. So that's not really very obvious. The obvious ones, I got most of them, and I added to-dos where it's needed, where I needed extra test cases. And I think a reviewer like Alana really did a good job going through the tests in terms of, okay, you have these, but this is missing, in the OR case, what happens? We need a test here to that level. So as a dev, when I review code, I don't go that deep either. So it's a good habit that I've encouraged that. And then of course, if it makes it easier for, okay, you're adding you're making this code change here, like consider adding tests here, or these are the places where the tests can be added. The unit tests go in these places, the integration tests go in this folder. It's kind of a guide for people to say, okay, this is where I need to go and, add some more code. And at some point it could become a, a verified tests present or the test code present kind of tool. It could be a little overkill, but something to think about.
yeah.
Especially if we're getting in a project this large, if we're getting bugs creep through because of missing tests.
I actually relate the case really share is actually endorse what earlier I said, that we really need the reviewer and approver to check of the test situation, right? And no one will know everything on the SIG Node. So that's why reviewer actually, if you spot something and look at it, because because you are in charge of the something, or you may be the user about the Kubernetes. So you may raise some concerns, say, oh, can we have the test here? If you cannot review everything, at least you maybe can raise the concern, say, oh, how about this scenario? and my use cases here be covered, right? So at least you can help on those things. So that's why it can help us to improve of the reliability in general. So Alila is demonstrates a good example here, and how can help, right? So improve of the testability and the reliability for a new feature.
Cool. So any other stuff, especially things that went well, I'm trying to keep things positive here.
I guess we are making progress, right? Like it may seem slow sometimes, but we are landing features. We are being deliberate about what we are getting in. But
we got the containerd side of this feature ready to go. Thanks to you.
I can add maybe one thing regarding maybe things that can be improved. I found one of the challenges has been kind of features that span Kubernetes and container runtime. So like, for example, some of the container stats work. I think one of the challenges is syncing up changes, because if you need to make changes in CRI, you can make those changes and then have to wait for them to roll out, the new release to be cut of the containerd, for example, and then has to go back to Kubernetes and then add the corresponding feature. And if you need to add something else back to the container runtime, it's then another cycle. So I think those features are definitely challenging. I think probably the in-place vertical pod autoscaling also has.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
In retrospect, I did have two separate caps with this in mind, but in retrospect, I should have weighed in on getting the CRI changes in early so that the containerd side can make progress, and then the rest of the feature can come in the next release cycle. But it, for the most part, all along, it seemed like they belong together and they should go together. I think my thinking on that lines was not exactly productive.
Manu, you want to share your experience, because in the past, I hope Nanta also is here. So both they can share how in the past they managed to sync the changes between Kubernetes and the container runtime.
Yeah, so I think like when we had this phase where we had to support the V1 Alpha 2 and V1, so the container runtimes had to add support for both, and I think that was the harder one. So I'm hoping like after we just move to V1, it won't be as hard in the future. But there's always going to be phases where we'll have to kind of do this dance and we'll have to plan ahead. Like it will be very hard to land the changes in the container runtime and CRI and back to Kubernetes all in one release. So I guess it's more like there's no shortcut there. we have to be aware that it's gonna take time. Along those lines, one positive I want to point out is I feel like there is a better working relationship with runc and the Kubernetes community. Like we were able to cut releases very fast in 124 because some issues were found when we were trying to update runc or libcontainer in Kubernetes. So I think that's a positive compared to the past.
Manu, do you think about why the runc maybe have the better collaboration with the Kubernetes than the container runtime? Is there
I think I don't think like container runtimes don't have a better relationship with Kubernetes. Maybe I think we just need more folks from the container runtimes engaged and proactive in cutting releases and so on.
Yes. Yeah. At least that's also my observation. Yeah. We have to, because a lot of things, if we think about those features, we want to add it to support the Kubernetes user. We have to represent the Kubernetes and proactively engage with container runtime community, right? So this is at least this is from my perspective, because I think about this is a tough problem from day one when we decouple certain things. This is also, I think last time I shared in the Docker shell removal, I share some history why we build the Docker shell, because that time we understand it's difficult and we want to iterate faster. So that's why we have the building model, Docker shell, right? So now we are slow down on the container runtime interface development, and we also have like the cloud and container native support our container runtime interface. So, but it still require of the collaboration from ourselves. Yeah.
All right. Any other good, bad we want to mention? If not, I think we can go to the KEP planning. Okay, cool. Let's go to the planning. So here is a doc that I think Sergey wrote, and yeah, so these are the caps that were cut from 1.24, and below are the things that we should consider tracking for 1.25, and also some general proposals and required action for even future releases, and something that are done. But I think for some purposes, they're still open, so we track them at the bottom of the stock. I think what I'm gonna do is I'll just well, go through the caps and see if we have an owner on the meeting or if we have an owner already listed themselves in the doc. Yeah, let's go through them then. So the first one, in place pod vertical scaling, I think.
Yeah, we talked about it. Vinay, do you want to add your information there in that for that one?
Yeah, I think I can be the owner for this one to get it see through. Do I need to go to the doc and add something here? It's the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. I'll request everyone on the call if they identify their KEP here, and please write author. And if you already have a reviewer approver, otherwise, if you don't have an identified reviewer approver as part of this planning, we'll identify those.
Yeah, I'll add what I know here to that.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, because it seems like not so many people have added themselves here. So I guess I will just probably still go through them and see if there's anything we want to talk about or anything that we don't want to keep as part of 1.25.
So quick clarification, is the second column tracking priority and size?
Yes.
Okay.
So it should be like something high/m or high/xl. Something like that. Yeah. Okay, so I get the first two are both, let me just double check, are both related to the in-place vertical scaling. Yeah, this one, there's a separate one tracking the CRI changes. Cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we have a separate enhancement. It's just a PR into the existing enhancement, right, Vinay?
Yeah, they're both in the same PR.
Okay.
I had them as two separate caps. For initial thought was exactly that maybe we want to get the CRI done early, but as time went on, as I was doing it, it all got done together, and it didn't seem like a very large to make a separate change. And the question came out, okay, what if the CRI went in and then we can't do the other one? That chicken and egg problem has always been there, so it's good to have everything go in together. That's why I didn't pursue that angle further.
So I think this should be tracked as one item then, right, together.
It should ideally be. It should just be one item for our purposes. It's confusing to have it because it's one PR at this point. It's been reviewed. Let's just do it one item. I don't know if it affects the KEP. It'll be it's two KEPs. I can even merge them.
Yeah, let's merge them. I'm just gonna delete this row from here. Okay.
Okay.
And for the priority, I'm gonna say high and XL is the size.
Yeah.
Alpha is the 125.
125 for
Vinay, Lana, Derek. And if you can add your PR here, that will be useful.
Is there a link to the document?
I just pasted it in chat.
Yeah, just looking for it.
But
Okay.
this table is in the
Oh, there it
caps that
is.
were cut from 124. Should we do this in the next section that is caps aiming for 125 or something like that?
Yeah, I guess like it's probably so the difference is like, okay, things that didn't make it to 124 and things that are net new in 125.
Ah, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So all of these will be carried forward to 125 unless there is a reason why we can't do them. So
Yeah. If we look at the cap sent to us, there's the 60. It's not the closed. So this is why when Sergey asked me initially, I told him just only carry from what we left from the 1.24, because anyway, we are going to have this meeting, right? Even follow-up meeting. So I had the missing part there because 60 definitely we cannot take. And a lot of things is just a suggestion even, right? So we should do this, we should do that. There's even don't have the cap open. So that's why I said don't put it, because initially he planned to put all the 60 here.
all right, Ryun, you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I see people are adding more details. Right. In short, secret put images. I think Mike, you are the owner of this one.
Yes.
And priority size-wise, I
think medium is fine.
Okay. I'm sorry, medium as in priority or size?
As in priority, size is, I guess, medium.
Oh, medium as well?
Like compared to some features. What do you think, Morel?
Yeah, I think it's a medium. I think Mike, we still own another round of like discussion with SIG Node on where we left it before we go ahead on this one, because there were a bunch of edge cases.
And review it again. Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'll add a to-do, discuss.
Okay. Node swap support. I don't see an owner here. Is that Elena?
Yeah, should be.
Manu, do you think about Elena have time to make this drive to next stage?
I'm not sure. We'll just put this on hold till she's back. Yeah. I'll just add a note. Yeah.
Yeah. We just because anyway we are also still waiting for some customer feedback, right? So
right. Yeah.
Or maybe we can find a new owner, but I think about it's okay to waiting for this one, right? So
yeah.
We're also missing tests and stuff for this still, so I doubt that's gonna happen in 125.
Were you thinking about a test targeting the alpha or for whatever we add next?
For anything, there's no E2E test yet, as far as I know.
Okay. All right. I captured that as a bullet as well. Thank you.
Yeah, moving on. Feature node conforming. I don't see an owner here either, but I think Sergey. Yeah, looks like Sergey is the owner here. I'll just put Sergey's name here, and I'll wait for him to add more details.
Feel free to add me to that too.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Mano. Keystone containers. Yeah, that is key. And we have the owners and yeah, the priority size here. Anything we want to talk about for this one? Keystone container.
DT is out for 125. And I'm not sure if
should we put that on? Should we put that on hold? I'm not sure we reached agreement on that yet.
Yeah, that one's probably best on hold for now. It can change, but like.
I know Matthias wanted to continue with that.
Okay, so maybe we'll let Matthias come talk about it, because I don't think the KEP changes are finalized yet with SIG Node. So maybe I'll just put discuss with SIG Node.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let him know. Thanks.
Yeah, the next one, support no-level username space remapping. I think Radha, this is the one you just talked about, right? We somehow
Yes.
to,
Yes, I think the name is slightly different, but yeah.
Yeah. Should we use the newer one to track?
Yeah, maybe I should create a new issue, because this issue was created like in 2016 or something like that by Derek.
But feel free to create and close previous one. Yeah, just feel free. Yeah, that's the time we think about the random project. Yeah, we create tons of those things back then. Yeah.
Yeah. The implementation changed a lot finally with what Derek initially suggested. So I'll create a new issue.
Right. So next one is secret v2.
Just a thing, let's size that as well. So I think maybe a medium priority. And Rodrigo, what's the size based on your efforts so far? I know you have a PR ready.
Yeah, on the Kubernetes part, I would say medium or small, because it's just a simple change to a CRI API. And for alpha, it's also simple. For beta, it will be more involved. But I have a proof of concept already working off the code, and it's quite small.
Okay. Okay, moving on, secret v2.
Yeah, so for that one, I think we're still waiting for feedback from production. And I know, like on the Red Hat side, we are trying to get more users use it. So I guess you can continue to do that. Like David, what do you think? I know you all were also trying to test it.
Yeah. So we're also trying to kind of move in the future to Secret v2. That's some active work that we're doing. So my thinking is we can try to take this to GA in 125. I think that's good effort, and I think we should get a good amount of feedback in 124 because all the pieces are in place now. So thinking.
So this one we basically will depend on how much user inputs give, right? So then decided the GA or not GA. So yeah. Okay.
Exactly, and I think also the recent COS M97 release is Secret v2 by default. Additionally, the latest Ubuntu 22.04 release, which is very popular, a lot of cloud providers use, is also Secret v2 by default. So I imagine due to those two distros moving to Secret v2, we'll get a lot more usage in 124 time.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm putting gather feedback, and if enough feedback, consider GA, and then we can see.
I think that makes sense.
Yep.
I want to make sure people understanding, like we might be sometimes people folks using stable. Stable is mean like from the developer perspective, we think about that as stable, less enough, and encourage user try out, but it's not mean stable. Immediately mean the GA. So we have to clearly call that is GA or not.
Moving on. Forensic container checkpointing. Adrian is listed here as an owner.
So I would say a medium priority, and Adrian in terms of effort on the Kubernetes side. Maybe a large, or do you say?
Oh no, it's L makes sense. Yeah, the code changes are not so big. You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, fixing Kubernetes probe timeouts. This one doesn't have an owner either. Looks like Sergey was working on it.
Yeah, let's come back to this one once Sergey is back next week.
Yeah.
Sorry, one more question. regarding the cgroup v2, how should feedback be added or something? Because maybe some teams here that use Flatcar, that we are also doing Flatcar container Linux, maybe they can add some feedback because they might use it v2.
I guess one idea is maybe we can send out a survey and see like if folks respond to it and try to gather feedback that way. Like,
oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one.
And also write a blog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can talk about those more and encourage people using, try out and give us the feedback. Maybe you can write a blog and also then attach at the end have the survey.
Yeah, I think I had a to-do, so I can take that on. Maybe over the next couple of weeks, I can put it together if anyone wants to work with me. Like David, if you want to work.
Yeah,
we can.
I'm happy to. Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
great. We discussed this earlier. It's good to
Okay.
blog post to get more awareness, for sure.
Okay.
Cool. So for the next one, ability to list what for resource assignments, it looks like Swati commented they're not to pursue this in 125.
Yeah, I left a comment. We did an evaluation of this activity. I think there's a lot of effort and we're not able to put in that amount of time in 125 timeframe. It's important, but maybe not for 125.
Okay. Should we just remove it here or?
Yeah,
Just
I recommend remove it.
You just don't have the, let's track those things here. Just put it on hold. Just like last time, we also have certain things just on hold. Just say on hold. Right, so we don't target anything in the 1.25. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Swati. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, C advisor list, CRI full container and pod stats owner. We have Peter Hunt and David Porter. Okay, anything we want to talk about on this one?
For this one, is Peter on the call?
Peter is in the call.
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing, we're going to continue this effort. Yeah, I think we're just a little bit out of bandwidth on 124 release, but I think this is something we want to pick up. Yeah, I think we have most of the CRI changes in place now. So the main question is adding some alternative endpoint in the container runtime for the /metrics cAdvisor endpoint. So having like Prometheus metrics that people can use directly from the endpoint if we want to turn off cAdvisor in the future. That's, I think, the main action item we want to do this release. Peter, go ahead.
Did we have anything for the like performance data, which will be like critical?
Yeah.
I don't think we collected that yet.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we haven't done anything on it. The problem is we need the CRI implementations to do the broadcasting of the cAdvisor metrics endpoint to be able to collect the performance of the broadcasting of those, and we haven't done that part yet.
So in this case,
we're
can we make progress in 1.25? Because I remember last time in 1.23 or 1.22, we basically also is block this one is performance data, right? So we're
yeah. So kind of my plan, at least for cryo, was to try to get like an implementation done early in the 125 cycle. And it might involve another couple of CRI changes just because the way that cAdvisor is kind of baked into kubelet now, it makes those metrics are broadcasted over the kubelet's HTTP API. And so the CRI might want something similar to that. Yeah, so my plan was to try to get it done early in 125 and then start collecting that data and evaluate the performance changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, these ones go to the beta or not go to beta. Basically, also blocked by the performance data, right?
I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think even before the performance metric analysis, I think the big chunk is that to really provide it as an alternative option for users, we need to have a story for the metric C advisor endpoint, right? Because right now,
Yes.
you can turn on that feature gate, but if you rely on the metric C advisor endpoint, you don't really have an alternative. So, and I think that that also will impact performance potentially at endpoint, right? If that's a background collection or something like that. So I think we need to get that done before we do performance, I would imagine.
So I guess that work can proceed, and then I mean it can still stay alpha, right? And then once we have the data, we can say, okay, it's good to move to beta. If
exactly. Yeah.
David, I want to make that clear. So we are not plan to immediately deprecate of the state weather endpoint. So if customer have that one, because it's just beta, but we do want that data to unblock the beta release for this one, right? So for the core metrics to the controller, Kubernetes control plane, and include of Kubernetes, we hope to using the CRI. Then we could actually demonstrate the community switch. Otherwise, we cannot to tell community switch, right? So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Couple those two problems. I want.
Yeah, maybe it makes sense. I think that the thing we were discussing is we just don't want. We don't have ability to turn off C advisor metrics to Dave, and we were thinking to only add that ability until after we have alternative. But maybe I think you bring up a good point. Maybe it makes sense to have the ability to turn it off even before we have an alternative for customers maybe that don't rely on that endpoint, and also so they can get the performance data, and then we can work on that endpoint in parallel. So maybe it makes sense to not have dependency between those two items.
When I can see there being use, if we're willing to accept a case where like some people don't want metric C advisor, then I can see it being useful that, you know, we have it we have turning off the C advisor collection of these metrics toggled by this feature gate, and then it's up to the CRI to broadcast whatever Prometheus metrics, you know, however it wants to.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
And then we can evaluate performance. And I mean, for that, performance would probably benefit quite a bit because there's a whole class of resources that we're not broadcasting over Prometheus. So
yeah, it's a little deeper than that too, right, Peter? I mean, insofar as locking and, you know, sequence, when can the data be available at all? And, you know, what format do you need it in? Do you need it in the kubelet format, C advisor format, or, you know, the current Prometheus format?
So for this particular endpoint that we're talking about, it's we're basically assuming that the current metric C advisor endpoint is an unofficial like API of Kubernetes, because people have assumed that it will be there and treat it as such, even though it's. So we're basically talking about perfectly mirroring that endpoint for the container stats.
As best can do. Okay, that makes sense. Definitely interesting. Yeah, I don't see that as being a a major problem. We do, of course, already serve this up over HTTP, so it would just be another way to make that pluggable.
Yeah, for containerd, it would pretty much just be translating some of those metrics and broadcasting them over a certain endpoint. Cryo, we actually have to start collecting them ourselves, but
yeah, maybe the C advisor guys can share that code for the conversion.
When I had the idea of moving into run C, but anyway, yeah.
I just want to time check right now is already and 11:03. So maybe we should call out the community and who is the CAP owner, and after this one, then we can come back to this next time. Hopefully next week when we go over this one, we'll be faster.
Yep.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Okay, thank you everyone. And Riven, can you send an email to the SIG Node mailing list also to call out this one? And
okay, I'll do that.
Not going to, thank you.
Oh, right. Thanks all.
Bye.
Well, thanks all.
Bye.